because I said, what's around here? And somebody said, oh, there's these dreadful cats outside. I thought, okay. They'd been attracted to the energies because for them, the energies are good. Unfortunately, I wasn't given the opportunity to fix this building. I would have, which is really sad. But I'll explain what happened was the engineer who took me there, he wanted to do a lot of work for this company. So he put together a huge and very expensive program, which included me, but included a lot of other stuff. So we had this mega expensive program, and just shortly after that, Britain went through an economic crisis, and so lots of things were shut down, and I never got a chance to correct it, because that would have been really interesting to do, because they would have had the sickness and absentee records, and it would have been great to compare before and after. But I would say I am totally convinced that if I'd done that, they would have seen huge differences. In retrospect, I wished I'd actually persisted personally and tried to get to do the work on my own without him being involved. But that's isn't what happened. Now I want to talk about some work by a couple in England called Anna and Roy Procter. They did some research, and the results were presented at the International Conference in Manchester by the British Society of Dowsers. They're dowsers. A lot of the people involved in the field of geopathic stress are dowsers. It was published in a magazine called Dowsing Today, but if you're interested in this, you can find it on their website. So it's proctordowsing.co.uk, research.htm. Can I just, no, yeah. I thought I'd put another slide in, but I haven't. Anyway, what they did was they carried out research on 105 households. And they involved a lady who worked at the business school at Cardiff University of Wales. She designed the questionnaire, analysed the results for them. And they used 105 households. And what they did is people requested their help. And each person that came in, each household that came in was allocated either to the experimental group or the control group, alternating. So they didn't say, oh, this one looks like it would be better in the control group or the experimental group. So as people contacted them, they were allocated to the experimental group or the control group. And they were given 4 questionnaires, which asked questions about the health of the family and about the house. And the first questionnaire was done before any work was undertaken. So that was the, point 0. The control group who didn't know they were in the control group, got their second questionnaire before the work was done. And of that group, make sure I've got this right, 16 respondents in the control group said they'd benefited by the time it came to the second questionnaire, right? So some of them, so it could have been placebo effect, some of them could have got better anyway, some of them could have done different things. So 16 out of the control group. Out of the experimental group, and remember, nobody knew which group they were in, nor did the statistician who was analysing the results, 48 of the experimental group reported a significant benefit. So 16 in the control group, 48 in the experimental group. That would suggest around 30 of the people experienced benefit. The numbers who experienced benefiting, they did 2 more questionnaires, and the numbers who experienced health benefits, increased during that time. So it's a really interesting study and definitely needs to be better known. So let's look at some of the possible signs of geopathic stress exposure. There's disturbed sleep patterns and tiredness. If you sleep in a geopathically stressed bed, you're likely to 5 minutes. Wow. I need to go really fast then. Okay, so these are some of the, I'm going to leave this because these are some of the things, I mean, it's pretty, the big one is failure to respond to treatment. That's the big thing that I think, you know, if people just don't get well no matter what you do, even when you think they should, then that would suggest that. Other effects, it can affect buildings, hospital and classrooms. One of my sons was in a class where the teacher was ill a lot, the kids were ill a lot. I did some work on it and that solved the problem. And I spoke to a teacher about 2 or 3 years later and she said there was no longer, you know, the sickness pattern in that class was normal, just like you would expect it to be. Let's whiz through to accident black spots. Accident black spots are interesting. This is where there's more accidents happen than you would expect. Now, sometimes it's because the area, maybe there's poor visibility, maybe the layout of the junctions isn't very good, maybe you've got some mad Indian drivers driving around. This research was done in Germany, and they put in massive pillars of white quartz into the ground. They were erected on either side of the road to restore the energy lines. And if you look at this, the guy who did it says, I located various elements that had disrupted the energy flow. And over a 2-year period, the number of otherwise unexplained fatal accidents fell from an average of 6 a year to 0. Now, the highways engineer said, we were really skeptical at first, and certainly didn't want people to know what we were doing, so we kept it secret. It was an incredible result, and we're now planning to expand it by erecting these monoliths at other accident black spots. Again, something very difficult to explain without getting into concepts like geopathic stress. I'm just wondering what I'm going to talk about, because I was going to talk about quite a bit, but if I've only got 5 minutes left, I need to cover things. Let's talk about types of geopathic energy. The Earth's magnetic field can get disturbed by the geology problems. It can also get disturbed by man-made disturbances to the Earth's magnetic field. I think you've got a metro in Delhi, have you? That could cause problems. Mining, lots of coal mines, and they often go for a long way. Coal mines can cause problems. There's all sorts of things like that. Underground water, surface water in general is not a problem. Underground water is a problem. The Curry lines and Hartmann lines it's a network of natural lines, and some practitioners think they're a problem where there are nodes on these lines. In my own experience, I don't find them a problem at all, but I put them there because I think, you know, you will hear people talk about these. Black lines, that line that I was talking about through the in that office, that was a black line. It's easy to think of geopathic stress always being in lines, but you can have spots, you can have spirals, so they're coming out the ground, going into the ground. Energy drains. I came across energy drains, and they're a really interesting phenomena because I think they're part of the Earth's natural mechanism for managing energy. And if you get too much geopathic energy in a place, then the drain gets overloaded, so the energy doesn't get taken away. So when you're working with energy drains, you're not working to get rid of them, as you might be with a black line. What you're trying to do is to get them to function more efficiently. And ley lines are man-made lines, usually 5 emotionally charged stones less than 40 kilometers, less than 40 kilometers between the first one and the last one. What they're for is not well known, but they're definitely man-made, probably very ancient. They aren't necessarily a problem, but sometimes they're a problem, I think, because people mess around with them. Modern people sometimes mess around with those sort of energies. Individual sensitivity. Now, people can be sensitive. You can have overall sensitivity. Some people are just generally sensitive to geopathic energies and have a hard time even with very little geopathic energies. Resonant frequencies. The lady, Jacqueline, before was talking about the frequencies of different organs. And there's a range, a healthy range. If one of your organs its frequency is the same as a geopathic energy, then you get much more of a problem. Patterns of use also, for example, if there's a lot of geopathic energy in the kitchen and you're a king cook and you spend a lot of time in the kitchen, then you're going to be much more affected than by somebody who doesn't spend much time in the kitchen at all. There can be overload on a particular body part. I took part in a English television program some years ago, and I was taken to a house and asked to, without meeting the owners, to say what I thought the problems were. And I identified that there was one of the bedrooms had a double bed that was clearly slept in, and I said whoever sleeps on this side is likely to suffer with low back or leg pain. And it turned out the husband of the house slept on that side of the bed and was frequently woken up with leg cramps in the night, painful contraction of the muscles, calf muscles. So that was pretty accurate. And the other thing I said was that there was a chair downstairs, and if anybody had that as their favorite chair, then they were likely to suffer with headaches because the line wasn't at ground level, the line was coming in here, which, for somebody, sitting down, at this level for somebody sitting down. And the wife, it was her favorite chair, and she suffered from migraines. So those sort of things can affect. Sometimes geopathic energies just undermine you so that your weakest point gets the problem. Some people say, oh, when I'm stressed, I always get a headache. When I'm stressed, I get sore throats. When I'm stressed, something happens. So geopathic stress can be one of the things that do that. Very quickly, correcting geopathic stress. Obviously, you can move the bed. You can use artifacts, mirrors. I've got lots of interesting stories, but I think it looks like people are going to need to, if you want to get the information, I'll do that. I just want to show one self-help technique, and then I will finish. One of the things you can do as a self-help technique is de-gauss the body. Gauss is a measure of magnetic strength, and what you do to de-gauss the body, the easiest way is take a hairdryer, plug it in, and I'm not going to do this now, but you plug it in, switch it on, and then what you do is you just rub it all over your body, yeah? Bottom of your feet. If you've got dental amalgams, do extra around your mouth. Works really well, helps people cope with geopathic stress, helps people cope with the effect of mobile phones and things like that. If you get a lot of static electric shocks, that's brilliant. Do you know what I mean by static electric shocks? Yeah, when you touch metal and you go, oh. If you're one of those people, do this. If you're addicted or you have children who are addicted to video games, all that stuff, then do this on them and the addiction goes. You have to do it about once a week. It's not a permanent fix, but it's a very good thing. And have I got any more slides? My book, yes. So I haven't covered half the material I wanted to. But as I say, if you email me, Jane, J-A-N-E, @lifeworkpotential.com, I'll send you the transcript and I'll send you the slides. Okay, thank you very much.